Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Ainam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasha Bhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Tamashloke, Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised by transcendental songs, is irrevocably established in the heart. So it's July 24th, 2020. It's a Friday evening program. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, entitled the Summum Bonum, Chapter 13, entitled Brahma Stealing the Boys and Calves. And we're nearing the end of the chapter here. We are...
58. 6 questions.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Okay.
What about my external consciousness and 5 things?
Okay, so let's read 58. Text 58, chapter 13. Taturvak pratilabdaksha kapareta vadutita krichvad unmilya vaidrishtir achashtedam sahatmana. Lord Brahma's external consciousness then revived, and he stood up, just like a dead man coming back to life. Opening his eyes with great difficulty, he saw the universe along with himself. Did we? Now we can read it again. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. We actually do not die. At death, we are merely kept inert for some time, just as during sleep. At night, we sleep and all our activities stop. But as soon as we arise, our memory immediately returns and we think, oh, where am I? What do I have to do? This is called sutotita nyaya. Suppose we die. Die means that we become inert for some time and then again begin our activities. This takes place life after life according to our karma or activities and svabhava or nature by association. Now in the human life, if we prepare ourselves by beginning the activity of our spiritual life, we return to our real life and attain perfection. Otherwise, according to karma, svabhava, prakriti, and so on, our varieties of life and activity continue, and so also do our birth and death. As explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Mayara Vasayacha Bese Tacha Budububai. My dear brothers, why are you being washed away by the waves of Maya? One should come to the spiritual platform, and then one's activities will be permanent. Krita Punya Punja. This stage is attained after one accumulates the results of pious activities for many, many lives. Janmakoti Sukriter na Labhyate. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chapter 8, Madhya-lila, Text 70. The Krishna consciousness movement wants to stop Koti Janma, repeated birth and death. In one birth, one should rectify everything and come to permanent life. This is Krishna consciousness.
Hearing this, it brings an old question that I had around, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that there's no rumination on this path, even a little investment saves one from the greatest type of fear, which is the purport that Prabhupada says, descending to the lower species. So like as devotees or even as like practitioners of Krishna consciousness, I understood that the fact that we took to the process we could preserve at least our human form of life.
That's my understanding. Like, yeah, like maybe we've done things that would send us to animal species, but at least we'll get a human form and have enough consciousness to have that choice.
But then I heard Prabhupada saying in several instances, I think it's even in the sixth canto or somewhere in the late cantos, that if a devotee is not careful, even he might ascend, like Krishna might send him like to animal life or one life for education.
Well, Prabhupada comments like the monkeys in Vrindavan,
Yeah.
but that's kind of like special.
Specific.
That's a special thing. So even the monkeys in Vrindavan, it's a result because they did nonsense while they were in Vrindavan as human beings, but still they're devotees, so they're getting quite a lot of purification by being monkeys in Vrindavan. So that's sort of like, an exception.
I wonder if like you go like if someone like that, he would go to hell to in the same opportunity, because he needs to Krishna needs to adjust your consciousness, right? So he might send that soul for purification before he gets like an animal form for one life, or it's like Bharat Maharaj, that he just got a body of the Dhira to remember his previous birth. But I think even in that Leela, Prabhupada explains that it's very rare. It's not that everyone who descends for one life he remembers.
That's the thing, saved from greatest
he was
fear.
in Baba,
Right.
At such a high stage.
And the deer, he had quite some realization. So these are exceptional cases. There's Maharaj Yudhisthira, who he needed to see hell.
Yeah.
He needed to see hell because he was too attached to his righteousness. Like that. So this saved from the greatest sort of fear. It's going down the animal species and being in complete ignorance, lifetime after lifetime. But Bharat Maharaj, monkeys in Vrindavan, these are sort of exceptional situations. Hare Krishna. Text 59. Sapadeva Vita Pashan Tisho Pashat Purastitam Vrindavanam Janajivya Jumakirnam Samapriyam. Would you like to read?
Then looking in all directions, Lord Brahma immediately saw Vrindavan before him, filled with trees which were the means of livelihood for the inhabitants, and which were equally pleasing in all seasons. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jivan Jivanya Dhrumakrinam. Trees and vegetables are essential, and they give happiness all year round. In all seasons, that is the arrangement of Vrindavan. It is not that in one season the trees are pleasing, and in another season not pleasing. Rather, they equally pleasing throughout the seasonal changes. Trees and vegetables provide a real means of livelihood recommended for everyone. Sarvakama Bhokamahi. Trees and vegetables, not industry, provide a real means of life. Yeah, that's the last verse.
We read that, okay. Text 60.
Yatranai
Sarga Durvaira Sahasani Vigadaya Mitrani Vaji Tavasa Chuta Ut Tarshakadikam. You would read again, since the last one was a short one.
Sure. Vrindavan is a transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger, or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. The word vana means forest. We are afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no envy. Even in this material world, in the forest, animals live together, and when they go to drink water, They do not attack anyone. I think I knew I heard it somewhere.
Yes.
I guess that was from Prabhupada. Envy develops because sense gratification, but in Vrindavan there is no sense gratification, for the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavan are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and supply milk to the tigers, saying, "Come here and take a little milk." Thus envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and the ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name of Vana, the forest, but in Vrindavan there is no such horror. Everyone there is happy by pleasing Krishna. Krishna Kirtana Gana Kaparo. Whatever a Goswami or a tiger or other fierce animal, everyone's business is the same to please Krishna. Even the tigers are also devotees. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everyone is happy. The calf is happy, the cat is happy, the dog is happy, the man is happy, everyone. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity. And thus, there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food.
We were just talking about the monkeys.
Yes. And but in Vrindavan we find the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has the right to live. This is Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No, that is material life. The inhabitants of Vrindavan think whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasad and eat. This mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop in Krishna consciousness by sadhana. One can come to this platform. In the material world, one may collect funds all over the world in order to distribute food freely, yet those whom the food is given may not even feel appreciated. The value of Krishna consciousness, however, will gradually be much appreciated. For instance, in an article about the temple of the Hare Krishna movement in Durban, South Africa, the Durban Post reported all the devotees here are very active in the service of Lord Krishna. The results are obvious to see: happiness, good health, peace of mind, and the development of all good qualities. This is the nature of Vrindavan. Without Krishna consciousness, happiness is impossible. One may struggle, but one cannot have happiness. We are therefore trying to give human society the opportunity for a life of happiness, good health, peace of mind, and all good qualities through God consciousness.
Feel Prabhupada's urgency there.
Yeah. It's kind of reminding this, the paragraph before the last one, at the end reminds me of these through 3 verses in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna asks to approach a spiritual master, surrender to him and he will teach you the truth because he's seen it. And then he explains what is the truth, is to see everyone as part of me or something like that.
4th chapter.
Yeah, 434.
434 is Tadvidi Pranipatena.
And then the 2 next verses are like,
right.
And what is he going to teach? He's going to teach you that all beings are
in me and I am in all beings. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then he speaks about there's nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge.
Mm.
Yes. So Prabhupada is living in that vision. All beings are in Krishna and Krishna is in all beings. So Prabhupada is fully experiencing and realizing that. Yeah. It is reminiscent of those verses from Bhagavad Gita. Like Prabhupada says, one may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavan, we find that the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has the right to live. This is Vrindavan life. So is Prabhupada talking about like today in Vrindavan, Krishna is distributing? Is he talking about when Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, he was distributing butter to the monkeys? Almost get a sense like Prabhupada's there in Vrindavan seeing Krishna distributing the butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like both.
Yeah.
Seems like Prabhupada sees
Yes.
how it is present in today's Vrindavan in that time.
I'm not quite sure what's Prabhupada's conclusive statement here about whether the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious. You see, he's saying Krishna distributes them butter. So the narration here is about how Vrindavan is quite the special place. Vrindavan, and Prabhupada is in that context. He's right there in Vrindavan, in his last days of those types of manifest pastimes. You get the sense he has a vision, because in the previous verse it's about Brahma kind of waking up enough to see the universe, and now he's getting clearer vision. He's right there in Vrindavan. Okay, text 61. Tatrodvahat pashupavamsha shishutvanajam Brahmadvayam paramanantamagara bodham Vatsansakin iva pura parito vichinvad Ekam sapani kavalam parameshya cheshta. Then Lord Brahma saw the absolute truth, who is one without a second, who possesses full knowledge and who is unlimited, assuming the role of a child in a family of cowherd men and standing all alone, just as before, with a morsel of food in his hand, searching everywhere for the calves and his cowherd friends. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. The word agada bodham, meaning full of unlimited knowledge, is significant in this verse. The Lord's knowledge is unlimited, and therefore one cannot touch where it ends, just as one cannot measure the ocean. What is the extent of our intelligence in comparison to the vast expanse of water in the ocean? On my passage to America, how insignificant the ship was, like a matchbox in the midst of the ocean. Krishna's intelligence resembles the ocean, for one cannot imagine how vast it is. The best course, therefore, is to surrender to Krishna. Don't try to measure Krishna. The word Advaya, meaning one without a second, is also significant. Because Brahma was overcast by Krishna's Maya, he was thinking himself the supreme. In the material world, everyone thinks, I am the best man in this world. I know everything. One thinks, why should I read Bhagavad Gita? I know everything I have. I know everything. I have my own interpretation. Brahma, however, was able to understand that the Supreme Personality is Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Another of Krishna's names, therefore, is Parameshwar. Now Brahma saw Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, not demonstrating his opulence, but standing just like an innocent boy with some food in his hand, loitering with his cowherd boyfriends, calves and cows. Brahma did not see Krishna's Chaturbhuja, the opulent Narayan. Rather, he simply saw an innocent boy. Nonetheless, he could understand that although Krishna was not demonstrating his power, he was the same supreme person. People generally do not appreciate someone unless he shows something wonderful. But here, although Krishna did not manifest anything wonderful, Brahma could understand that the same wonderful person was present like an ordinary child, although he was the master of the whole creation. Thus Brahma prayed, Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. You are the original person, the cause of everything. I bow down to you. This was his realization. Tamaham Bhajami. This is what is wanted. One cannot reach Krishna merely by Vedic knowledge. But when one becomes a devotee, then one can realize him. Brahma therefore became a devotee. In the beginning, he was proud of being Brahma, the Lord of the universe. But now he understood, here is the Lord of the universe. I am simply an insignificant agent. Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna was playing like a dramatic actor because Brahma had some false prestige, thinking that he had some power. Krishna showed him his real position. A similar incident occurred when Brahma went to see Krishna in Dwarka. When Krishna's doorman informed Lord Krishna that Lord Brahma had arrived, Krishna responded, which Brahma? Ask him which Brahma. The doorman relayed this question, and Brahma was astonished. Is there another Brahma besides me, he thought? When the doorman informed Lord Krishna, it is four-headed Brahma, Lord Krishna said, oh, four-headed, call others, show him. This is Krishna's position. For Krishna, the four-headed Brahma is insignificant, to say nothing of four-headed scientists. Materialistic scientists think that although this planet Earth is full of opulence, all others are vacant. Because they simply speculate, this is their scientific conclusion. But from the Bhagavatam, we understand that the entire universe is full of living entities everywhere. Thus, it is the folly of the scientists that although they do not know anything, they mislead people by presenting themselves as scientists, philosophers, and men of knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Four-headed science.
Four-headed science, yeah.
Never reading it.
Right.
Prabhupada is very humorous.
Yes, very humorous. He was in special humor then.
Is it true that our universe is comparatively small because of the heads that Lord Brahma needs to figure out things here? Like
that's my understanding. Yeah, there are Brahmas with millions and trillions of heads, and those universes are much bigger. That's my understanding. That's somewhere in Krishna book or one of the lectures or something. Yeah, I believe so. Okay, you want to continue on?
Yeah.
Triштva tvarena nijadoranato vatiya Prityam bahukana kirtandam niva vipatya Trištva chatur mukutakoti bir angri yugmam Natva mud ashu sujaler akrita vishekam.
After seeing this, Lord Brahma hesitantly got down from his swan carrier, fell down like a golden robe, and touched the lotus feet of Lord Krishna with the tips of the four crowns of his heads. Offering his obeisances, he bathed the feet of Krishna with the water of his tears of joy. Lord Brahma bowed down like a stick, and because Lord Brahma's complexion is golden, he appeared to be like a golden stick laying down before Lord Krishna. When one falls down before a superior just like a stick, one's offering obeisances is called dandavat. Danda means stick and vat means like. It is not that one should simply say dandavat. Rather, one must fall down. I guess because sometimes the word is dandavat.
Yeah, Prabhupada was noticing these things.
Rather, one must fall down. Thus, Brahma fell down, touching his forehead to the lotus feet of Krishna, and his carrier in ecstasy is to be regarded as his crying in ecstasy is to be regarded as an Abhishek bathing ceremony of Krishna's lotus feet. He who appeared before Brahma as a human child was in fact the absolute truth. Brahman, Brahmati, Paramatmati, Bhagavaniti, Shabdate. The Supreme Lord is not a Bhakti. That is, he resembles a human being. It is not that he is four-armed Chaturpu, Narayan is Chaturpu, but the Supreme Person resembles a human being. This is also confirmed in the Bible, where it is said that man was made in the image of God.
B'Tselem Elohim.
So, yeah, I was always wondering, what is that image?
Right.
No one told me until now.
Until now.
Lord Brahma saw that Krishna, in his form as a coward boy, was Parabrahman, the root cause of everything, but was now appearing as a human child, loitering in Vrindavan with a morsel of food in his hand. Astonished Lord Brahma hesitantly got down from his swan carrier and let his body fall to the earth. Usually, demigods never touch the ground, but Lord Brahma, voluntarily given up his prestige as a demigod, bowed down on the ground before Krishna. Although Brahma had one head in each direction, he voluntarily brought all his heads on the ground, to the ground, and touched Krishna's feet with the tips of his four helmets. Although his intelligence works in every direction, he surrendered everything before the boy Krishna. It is mentioned that Brahma washed the feet of Krishna with his tears, and here the word Sajuya indicates that his tears were purified. As soon as Bhakti is present, everything is purified. Sarvapani Vini Muktam. Therefore, Brahma's crying was a form of Bhakti Anubhava, the transformation, transcendental, ecstatic love.
Krishna, Krishna.
I was kind of meditating a lot on what does it mean that, in the Bible it says that we created an image of God, but there's so many images to Krishna too, like there's four arms, Narayan, there's like Narasimhadev, but it's like seems that it's like indication specifically to Krishna because we resemble
two-armed.
Two-armed. That's the only two-armed form, right?
Well, there's Ramachandra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
Because like in the Quran, I think in this book that you sent me, Secrets of Quran, Lord Chaitanya, that's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but Lord Chaitanya proves that the color of Allah is like an Arabian boy, and it's stated in the Quran itself that he has like a dark complexion.
Blackish, yeah.
And since the Bible was spoken to this kind of people, it's interesting how it resembles that specific image of Krishna as opposed to even Ram, let's say, because Ram is like green.
Greenish, yeah.
Right. Or like Lord Chaitanya who is golden. Right.
So B'Tselem Elohim, it clearly indicates
how far we take that.
There's a personal form.
Yeah.
Human-like form. And of course so much of Judaic philosophy says, oh, that's just symbolism or something. Yeah. I think that started with the Rambam, Moshe ben Maimonides, that he gave all those personal references in the Bible. He was like the Shankaracharya of Judaism.
Moses.
Rambam. Yes, Rambam, exactly. Rabbi Moses ben Maimonides.
Okay.
Moses ben Machmanides, I think and Rambam's the acronym. So I see him as like the Shankaracharya of Judaism.
Interesting.
He took all the personal references and gave them impersonal interpretations. And in his time, my understanding is he wasn't very popular or accepted. He had some followers, and over the period of maybe 200 years, his followers became stronger and stronger, to the point, I remember when I studied in yeshiva in 1983, in Eish HaTorah, the saying was, from Moses to Moses. Means like there's two pillars of Jewish philosophy you can't question. Moses from biblical times and Rambam. Yeah. So, right. Maybe you've heard me tell this story. Because I remember when I first came to Israel in 1983, before I went to the Widges Institute in Arad and the Negev, and I was on some tour, and they were giving us a tour. It was before the first Intifada, so West Bank area was more open than it was after 87. After 87, 87 was the first Intifada. So we're doing a tour of like different ancient. So it was some ancient synagogue in the Jericho area, in the Judean desert, and so we got that area, and then first thing I noticed in the synagogue, this ancient synagogue.
Swastika.
What's that?
The swastika? No, it's something.
It wasn't a swastika. It was on the floor were like these tile mosaics. The image that came to my mind was like they looked like Greek sun gods.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And so I remember, and I was beginning to chant 16 rounds at that time. For a few years I had read some of Prabhupada's books. So I asked the tour guide, "Oh, what's this?" And the tour guide, I remember he said, "Oh, that was just for decoration." So I didn't accept that. I mean, I didn't say anything, but because, like, if you look like synagogue, they don't decorate their synagogues with pictures of rabbis. What to speak of pictures of sun gods or gods?
Yeah.
So
images are so forbidden.
Yes, it's asur.
Yeah.
So it was clear to me that these ancient Jews, they were worshiping personal deities with forms and like that. But there's like a cover-up. There's like a cover-up. And then I guess my interpretation is maybe around whatever 800 years ago, 900 years ago, the Rambam's philosophy, which eventually became accepted, was they would just cover that up in the biblical references, B'Tselem Elohim, the hand of God and the neck of God, and they would just give it like Shankaracharya personal interpretations. But it was clear to me that originally Judaism was quite personal.
And he, like, why would you say what was his purpose doing that, like impersonal, like giving him a personal outlook to it?
I don't know his purpose. I haven't studied his life or motivation so much. My understanding is he was highly influenced by Aristotle. He was highly influenced by Greek philosophers, particularly Aristotle, who had kind of like an ultimately non-personal conception of the supreme. And so I think he brought those Greek influences into Judaism.
Correlations.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can move on towards the closure here. So where are we? Text 63?
Yeah, last two verses.
Utayotaya Krishnasya Tirasya Padayopatan Aste Mahitvam Pragdrishtam Smritva Puna.
Rising and falling again and again in the lotus feet of Lord Krishna for a long time, Lord Brahma remembered over and over the Lord's greatness. We had just seen. As purported by Srila Prabhupada, they stated in one prayer, Shrutim Akare Smritim Vidve Bharatam anya vajanto bhavanvitam aham vihanandam bande yasyavinda param brahma. Let others study the Vedas, Smriti, and Mahabharata, fearing material existence, but I shall worship Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard is crawling the supreme Brahman. Nanda Maharaj is so great that the Param Brahman is crawling in his yard, and therefore I shall worship him. Who wrote the Bhagavad?
I'm not sure. I've seen this verse sometimes attributed being spoken by some Brahmin devotee. But the Pajavali, I'm not sure if that's a scripture from the time of the Goswamis or from the ancient Vedic times. I'm not certain.
Brahma was falling down in ecstasy because of the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who exactly resembled a human child. Brahma was naturally astonished, therefore with a flattering voice,
Faltering,
like shaking.
Yeah.
Faltering voice, he offered prayers, understanding that there was the Supreme Person.
Here was the Supreme Person.
Here was.
Right, so Rama's some ecstasy here. And then, of course, the next chapter is all about Brahma's prayers.
This relationship with Nanda
Maharaj.
Nanda Maharaj is interesting. I mean, I always found it fascinating how Prabhupada was, he appeared on Nandatsava, and I think many consider that as the actual Janmashtami, because that's when Krishna his birthday was celebrated.
Yeah, that's when Nanda Maharaj held the festival.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's true. So, special time for Prabhupada's appearance. And I was always touched by this verse Prabhupada quotes about, let the others study the Vedas, the Smriti Mahabharata, but I shall worship Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard is crawling the Supreme Brahman. He is so great that the Para-Brahman is crawling in his yard, and therefore I shall worship Nanda Maharaj. I always was moved by that verse.
It reminds me of this verse, I think we quoted in the last Chaitanya reading.
Yes.
That,
From Madhavendra-puri.
Madhavendra-puri. Or Madhavendra-puri. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master?
Lord Chaitanya's grand spiritual master. Yes, my prayer is, please accept my respects, bathing, glories to you. Yeah, and there are two verses. One says, let the villagers criticize me and let these people call me crazy and this and that, but I shall not budge an inch from the determination to remember and serve Sri Krishna, although I'm unable to do so. There are two verses from Madhavendra-puri that Prabhupada quotes. This one is in fact, when I thought of this one, when I led that class, I did think of this verse. I thought, this one's also from Madhavendra-puri. But there's no indication here that it is from Madhavendra-puri. Yeah, there is no indication. But this verse does remind me of the two Madhavendra-puri verses for sure.
Yes,
Okay, we can go on. Sanerto taya vinvijelochane mukundam udviksha vinamra kandhara vitanjali prashraya van samahita sabepatur gadayai latelaya. Then rising very gradually and wiping his two eyes, Lord Brahma looked up at Mukunda Lord Brahma, his head bent low, his mind concentrated and his body trembling, very humbly began with faltering words to offer praises to Lord Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahma, being very joyful, began to shed tears, and he washed the lotus feet of Krishna with his tears. Repeatedly he fell and rose as he recalled the wonderful activities of the Lord. After repeating obeisances for a long time, Brahma stood up and smeared his hands over his eyes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the word lochane indicates that with his two hands he wiped the two eyes on each of his four faces. Seeing the Lord before him, Brahma began to offer prayers with great humility, respect, and attention. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Stealing of the Boys and Calves by Brahma.
Great humility, respect, and attention.
Yes.
When I visualize this, it seems like there were many tears. Like 4 faces.
Yes.
12 eyes.
It was a whole Abhishek. This guy was a whole Abhishek. Lots of tears.
16 eyes. 16 pairs of eyes.
Yes. Well, 4 faces would be 8 eyes.
Okay, yeah.
Our Brahma has 4 heads. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.